Ciao ragazzi! Welcome to Talk Calcio TV with myself, Domenico. Now, it isn't often we do a results and review on a Tuesday. Of course, last night we had Juventus versus Genoa. That is the reason. We've got plenty to talk about tonight. Now, we're actually, instead of me doing it all in one blog, 10 minutes and you lot falling asleep, we're going to do 2 episodes tonight. So after this one's done, we have another episode on the transfer news and other goings on in Serie A and other news from Italian football today. So we're going to start with last night's game, the reason why we're filming tonight. The reigning champions, Juventus, of course, beat Genoa 1-0, a goal from Douglas Costa. Now, I've got to be honest, that wasn't a great game to watch last night. You know, I'm neutral on these shows. You know, we didn't see the Juventus we know they're capable of. They could put teams away. On paper, you'd have thought they'd have won 3 or 4-0. A goal from Douglas Costa, however, did settle it. Towards the end, Juventus did look a bit shaky. Genoa, you know, if they had some cutting edge up front, they could have nicked the goal. It wasn't to be. Juventus held on for 3 points. Now, love them or love them, Juventus, they know how to win. You know, it's like Manchester United. They're a team you can never write off. Even when they're not at their best, they win games. Some fans, of course, were critical of coach Massimo Allegri. He said afterwards in his interview, I don't care if we bore everyone to death. We're winning games. That is the main thing. And right now it is, you know, they're chasing Napoli for the Scudetto. There's 1 point in it. You know, it really, when you're not playing at your best, but you're still winning results, you know, isn't that good enough? Apparently not in the world of Italian football, especially when you're a Juventus fan and the standards are always high, understandably. So they are in second. They are 1 point behind leaders Napoli, who beat their bogey side Atalanta away 1-0 at the weekend. Dries Mertens went 910 minutes without a goal in Serie A. Now, we know how prolific he's been the last couple of seasons. The Belgian, though, scored on 65 minutes, and that settled the game. Of course, in the build to this game, Simone Verdi, of course, pulled out of his move to Napoli at the 11th hour last week, as we know. Of course, we did do an episode on that one. It doesn't look as if they need another striker. Mertens' goal was enough. Of course, so Sarri's side stay top now. Another talking point, I think it's gone viral. People on the YouTube, Snapchats, anything you can think of. There's a video, of course, Lorenzo Insigne was substituted by Sarri. Of course, Insigne was not happy. Sarri, though, we know he doesn't hold back, told Insigne to go and sit down and put his coat on. So obviously the disciplinarian's man, he is old Sarri, but at the moment it is working. Napoli stay top of Serie A by 1 point over Juventus. So Napoli stay top. We go on to the other results. Of course, the other big game on Sunday was Inter Milan versus Roma. That, of course, ended 1-1. Stefan Al-Shaarawy gave the Giallorossi Roma a lead at half-time with a goal when he chipped over Handanovic. Now, in the second half, Inter bombarded Roma's goal. Alisson Becker, the Brazilian goalkeeper, at 1 point, I think if Inter would have chucked the kitchen sink at him, he'd have caught it. They just couldn't break them down. Even Mauro Icardi, his effort hit the post. Perisic, you could go through the whole Inter 11 that were having shots on target. It just wouldn't happen. Roma, though, of course, they then made a substitution. When they took off Dzeko, I just think that affected them. Of course, they put on Leandro Paredes. They kept dropping deeper and deeper. In the end, Matthias Vecino's headed goal, something Alisson Becker couldn't keep out, was enough to gain a point for the Nerazzurri. Now, when you look at it, a draw didn't really do either side any good. Roma trying to get back on track for their Champions League hopes. Inter, of course, haven't won in 7 or 6 now. You know, they're limping, to put it politely, as we speak right now. So a draw doesn't do either good, and it also doesn't help by the fact that it is now Lazio that are in 3rd position. They were without their top scorer and Capricornero leader Ciro Immobile, but they beat Chievo 5-1 at the Stadio Olimpico. Sergej Milinkovic-Savic scoring 2, and of course even ex-Manchester United man Nani was on the score sheet too. So Napoli, they leap into 3rd. Going through the other results now. Cagliari were beaten 2-1 at home by AC Milan. Of course, Cagliari did take the lead. However, of course, Nicola Barella scored the opening goal. However, a brace from Milan striker Frank Kessie, his brace was enough to get all 3 points for Rino Gattuso's men. So AC Milan finally starting to put some sort of run and some sort of momentum together. Where will it take them? Can they get into the Europa League? Their aim at the start of the season was the Champions League. That isn't looking likely, but you never know what can happen in the world of Serie A. Elsewhere, Sampdoria beat Fiorentina 3-1 at the Luigi Ferrari Stadium in Genoa. That man again, Fabio Quagliarella, of course, scored a hat-trick. That keeps Sampdoria's faint hopes of the Champions League alive. It looks as if they're set for European football regardless. Fiorentina, after recent good form though, that was a bit of a blow. Next result, we had Sassuolo against Torino. Now, of course, Walter Mazzarri won his first game as Torino boss 3-0. However, Sassuolo, though, as we know, as we saw them against Roma a few weeks ago, stubborn as they were, they wouldn't give in. They managed to salvage a point. Domenico Berardi ended his 10-goal drought and he equalised for Sassuolo there. So that finished 1-1. Then we had Udinese against Spal, another 1-1 draw. Spal arguably had the better of the game. They'll feel that they should have won this one. Of course, they were only denied after an error by Alfred Gomez, which cost them in the end, but they get a point. That's not bad in their hopes for survival. And then, of course, the big one then we had at the bottom was Verona 0, Crotone 3. Federico Ricci couldn't have asked for a better debut really for Crotone. Scoring on there, that drops Hellas Verona deeper into the relegation scrap on that one. So how is Serie A shaping up at the moment? Well, of course, at the bottom, Benevento. Now, after their 2 wins, it's fair to say that their mini revival, or whatever it was, is over. Bologna won 3-0. Of course, Verdi was on the bench for that game, but goals from Destro, Di Maio and Zanelli were enough to secure the points for the Rossoblù. Of course, Bologna's next game is against Napoli. Marek Hamsik, Napoli captain, said today he doesn't need to talk to Simone Verdi. I'm sure the fans at the San Paolo will make it clear their feelings toward Verdi, who pulled out the 11th hour of a move to Napoli. So as we look at the Serie A table, Napoli, they are top on 54 points. Juventus, of course, behind by 1. They are on 53 points, having won last night. It is now Lazio. They leap into 3rd position. Roma, Inter are in 4th and Roma 5th. Of course, we do have 2 games tomorrow night as well, which we'll preview at the end of the table. Roma in 5th, Sampdoria 6th. There's 7 points behind Roma. That's a bit of an ask to claw back into 5th to then challenge the Champions League, but you never know. Milan now, they are in 7th. Atalanta 8th. Bit of a disappointing defeat for them at home to Napoli. They kind of lost their way a bit there. Torino in 9th. Udinese 10th. We go into the bottom half. Fiorentina on 28 points. They are in 11th. Bologna on 27. Sassuolo in 22. And then there is a glut of sides at the bottom course. Benevento just 7 points. Above them, Verona on 13, and Spal occupy the last relegation spot as it stands. Chievo, though, on 22 points. They're beginning to slip. You know, they've taken some heavy beatings in the last few weeks. At the moment, the other results are going their way. You know, Spal and Verona are also getting beaten. It's keeping the flying donkeys adrift for the moment, but how long can that continue? Now, of course, we do have 2 games tomorrow night. Of course, we have Lazio against Udinese. And what a job Simone Inzaghi is doing, you know. Of course, was youth coach of the Biancoceleste. Lazio seem to be putting some form together. You know, they've slipped under the radar. At the moment, they're scoring for fun. The other game is, of course, Sampdoria versus Roma at the Luigi Ferrari Stadium in Genoa. Of course, this game was postponed back in September, October time. It's only been rescheduled. As luck would have it, Roma and Sampdoria are always going to play each other back-to-back now. So that'll be interesting. And, of course, Quagliarella on form right now. Now, of course, the main talk about Edin Dzeko is likely to be sold to Chelsea by the time they kick off tomorrow. Where will they get the goals from? Is Schick good enough? Is the Frau good enough? And there's even now talk about Gerard Deulofeu coming in. We'll discuss that one in our next episode. So time to go make yourself a cup of coffee, have some piece of cake or something. We'll be shooting the second episode shortly. What do you think of the way the Scudetti race is going? Napoli's still top. Can Juventus catch them? Tell us what you think. Like or comment below, and don't forget to subscribe. Talk Calcio TV on YouTube. We will be back shortly for our next episode on all the transfer news and other talking points from Italian football. Arrivederci ragazzi. Grazie.